Hey, welcome to another episode of Marketing Matters. I'm Erin Sanchez from candidlyerin.com.
And I'm Yolanda of Wise Social Marketing.
And you can find us right here on YouTube at 11 a.m. Pacific every Thursday. So today we're going to talk about being a multi-passionate and embracing who you are and not trying to fit yourself in a box. It's something that I've gone through and other people I've talked to have gone through. So let's first kind of define, and I'm not sure, I didn't ask you, but like you may have gone through this at some point yourself, but let's kind of define it. Yeah, okay. I think we all have, right?
Yeah, I would definitely describe myself as multi-passionate.
Yeah.
And like you, but although I must say I didn't struggle, I think you struggled a little bit more with this, Erin. I think I'm just also older and also
It makes it does make a difference, right? More life experience.
No, I think I'm used to using my different passions in what I do for a longer time.
Yeah.
But I do understand the struggle. It's very real.
Yeah.
So a multi-passionate is someone who has many interests and then struggles to focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I think that's the struggle, because you want to try and juggle everything at the same time because you love everything so much, and you want to, master it all. But actually, you need to focus on one task at a time.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll add to that my struggle and someone who I recently met with, who I won't name just because I don't want to call her out. But, our struggle was because we're very like strategic minded, was that we wanted to make sense of who we are in a way that like everything was very logically tied together to our brand and how we did business and how can I pursue all of these passions as this one thing. And later, like I'll kind of share, where I've kind of gone with that and what I've discovered about it. But first we can kind of talk in more general terms, unless you want me to.
That was such a great point there that you just made, Erin. Because we are strategists primarily. Well, that's the way I describe myself, as a marketing strategist primarily. Yeah. I am very strategic. I like being very focused and organized, and I'm a planner, right? So here's the thing with being a multi-passionate. Multi-passionate people are not very good at at planning and getting organized. But if you master it, then it can be strategic. There's this idea that if you have too many interests, you aren't behaving strategically or in a structured way, and it's not true. It is possible.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we share this with people, because I think there are a lot of people out there who consider, especially creatives are usually multi-passionates, right? I am a writer, but I also love visual arts. I started as a major like in visual arts in college, and then I was like, well, I'll study art history and I'll do because I had all these different passions, and that's one of the reasons I could be a lifelong student, is just continue like learning all these different things. For me, the answer kind of became, and we can talk more about what you and I were talking about with like how other people perceive you and everything. But for me, I think a big part of it was letting go of the idea that I have to make everything tie together in a way that is my business, and just be and really take advantage of personal branding. I know that's a very like buzzy word, but just being who you are and letting those different interests and facets shine through. They don't all have to generate revenue. They can just be part of who you are, and your audience is going to connect with different aspects of who you are, regardless of whether it's directly linked, like I was trying to make everything fit into this perfect little box. So that was huge.
Different people are attracted to those different sides of what you're doing. Like we've mentioned this before, I think in last week's video, actually, we mentioned that you can be a writer and a juggler and a graphic designer and a mother and this great chef, and you can be all these things and incorporate it into your work, like show aspects of it, share different things of it, like you say, like integrate it into your work. And people who are fascinated or interested in certain of those things will be drawn to you. Then no one's going to be exactly like you. No one's going to be a writer and a juggler and a mom and a graphic designer and a great chef. But you'll probably find someone who's a graphic designer and a great chef. And then they'll be drawn to you. They'll be attracted to you and your message.
Yep. It's the same, like I just noticed this with, well, I was looking for it as we were kind of planning our topic, right? And I looked at some of the big names out there because you know that everybody who, like I said, people who are creatives, like, and not even if you're creative, like everybody has various hobbies, whether you're going, like you go fishing or you're a runner or whatever. And like Jasmine Star, right? So she got started as a photographer. And so people really know her for photography. She has a lot of pictures of herself with a camera, whatever. But as she grew and invited people to get to know who she was, you know, there's pictures of her doing yoga. There's pictures of her with her little dog, you know, there's pictures of her cooking with her husband. All of those different aspects of who she is speaks to various aspects of her audience. Yet what she does is not teach yoga or teach cooking classes or any of that. So I just think,
yeah, it's humanizing her brand. It's making her more human, more approachable, which we can all do. And again, if you share all those interests, just makes you more interesting, right?
Exactly.
And the more interesting you are, the more you attract people.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. And you invite them into those little behind the scenes or what feels personal or intimate about your life. I mean, I think we've had this conversation. I hate reality TV, but it's very successful because of that. People just love the minutia. They love to feel like they can relate.
Yeah.
I do that too. I use those hair products. Whatever.
We don't want to feel so alone, right? This is why these reality TV shows are so popular, because we all want to, oh yeah, I'm like that, or I do that, and we can relate.
It's that whole sense of belonging, if we really want to go into psychology, but but I'm not a psychologist, so I won't. But that's huge in marketing, though, really, truly, right? So I know that we had talked about, because you were super helpful to me, because I felt like I was going through like a crisis with this. I was like, am I having a midlife crisis? Because I started really questioning.
Midlife. You know, in your midlife.
Okay, third life crisis. I was like, I started asking the question of myself, like, who am I even? Like, I don't even know, because I was trying to overthink it so much. And I was like, who am I? What do I do? Who do I serve? Like, I don't even know anymore, because it can be everything, or it can be this one little narrow thing. And it just all became very overwhelming. And the advice that you kind of gave me was, well, I mean, you've given me so much advice, but like one of the pieces of advice was like, share, you know, you told me how you had perceived me, right, when we first met as a writer. And I was like, well, yeah, I am a writer, but I kind of took it for granted and didn't necessarily think that other people saw me that way. So then I started experimenting with content and saying, like, let me show some behind the scenes. Let me share about my writing process. Let me share about, you know, something I published or whatever. And that is when I started seeing engagement and traffic and everything really start to pick up, because I guess it was like, instead of fighting against just who I am and what I do, it was just leaning into how people perceive me, which happened to be something that I do love doing, thankfully, right? And that it wasn't a bad perception. And everything clicked. Everything clicked from there. So I think it's about that too, is like, it's an overused quote, but it's like, we're not human doings, we're human beings. So just be who you are, right? So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I'm forever grateful for your help there.
I think a lot of us start out thinking that when we sit down and we make our beautiful plans and our content strategy for, you know, the next few months or whatever, or the year, we think that everything we're going to share, or we want to believe that everything we're going to share is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know if something works until we share it and then wait to see what our audience is going to do or how they're going to respond to this. So you have to actually create stuff. And like you said, experiment. You have to, while you should have a strategy in place, you should also be running loads of experiments, just testing all kinds of content about all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you are multi-passionate, this is super easy because you have so many other things that interest you. So
Yep.
test it out. And that's how you know when something works, is with the feedback. It's not you thinking you know what's going to work. It's
No,
waiting for the response.
no,
Yeah.
that's I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think it really gives context to that saying, clarity comes from action. And that's when I fully appreciated that expression. It was like, oh, I'm just going to, like, you can't think through the perfect brand, because branding is a perception. Ultimately, you can't even force, you can try to shape what you want people to perceive, but you cannot choose what people perceive, right?
100%, yeah.
So branding happens in the minds of others, and that's where just taking action is going to give you that feedback you need to see how other people perceive you, what's resonating.
Yeah. This idea that like I say, the perception, the brand doesn't actually start with you. This idea that you are going to create something perfect from the word go, it's not real. It doesn't exist. That's not how it works. You don't decide that your brand is perfect and everything you're going to put out is perfect. It also doesn't help that Instagram, for example, a lot of people push that idea that aesthetically you should have this most perfect looking thing. Again, it's, you don't know what's going to work until you put it out there. You and I've spoken about this so many times about Instagram. There are super successful accounts who have the messiest accounts. I mean, hundreds of thousands of followers. And yet these brands, these people have hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah.
Their feed is a mess.
Yeah, there's no grid.
Mess.
Yeah. No, I've seen it.
It works.
Mm-hmm.
It works for them. Your audience will gravitate towards you if you're just authentic in your expression. Like if you just share what you want to share and just start seeing, what's hitting home, what's working, what's resonating.
Absolutely. And this is what's going to inform you if you feel like you're not getting traction, if you feel like you're not making money, then do this. Like, stop trying to plan what's going to make money, because you can't predict that, and start testing and see what people ask you for, right? And that's when I have this amazing, coaching client, and he was like, hey, I need help with my pitches, feedback on my writing, right? And I was like, okay, I took for granted that's who I am, that I'm a writer, or that I took for granted that my writing was that valuable, or my skills in that area were that valuable. But when I started really just like saying, okay, I'm just going to put out there what I'm thinking, what I'm working on, bam, right? Then people go, I know what you can help me with. And that's when things started happening on that side of the business. So yeah, no, it's so important.
I read recently, sadly, I don't know which book it was in, but it was a story about Michelangelo, who we all know from the Sistine Chapel, and just how amazing an artist he was. But when the Medici family, which were like the Rockefellers of their time kind of thing, they were the people with all the money. When they hired him to actually do the Sistine Chapel, he wasn't actually the best man for the job. They just believed in him. So he was just doing work, right? He was just putting stuff out there, and they liked what they saw. And although he was not the expert or the top person that was recommended to them, they hired him. So put out the work, share your work, put it out there, and you'll be surprised. I found this as well in my own experience. A lot of times my clients see in me things that I didn't see in myself or didn't believe I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really actually how I started out in marketing.
Yeah.
Like,
that's right.
Yeah, I had no marketing experience, and I was hired to do this lady's marketing. And I actually made it clear to her, I said, you should know, I don't even have a Facebook page. No, she wanted me to do it. So yeah, you don't know. People will see things in you just because you are sharing, you're putting yourself out there.
Yep, totally agree. And then keep at it, right? That's a whole nother video, but the consistency piece of it, but keep showing up, because this isn't going to happen overnight, but I think if you're paying attention, you do start to see little hints of what's working pretty quickly. Because for me, it was like when I started seeing comments on social posts from people who I had never had a connect, perfect strangers, right? And they would ask me a question, and it wasn't like an emoji comment that was, done by a bot or anything like that. It was somebody who read my post, asked me a question because it spoke to them, and they perceived me to potentially have the answer.
Yeah.
Little things like that are indicators. So I think paying attention, just.
And social media is perfect for this, right? For this experimentation, because you don't need to devote hours of your time to create a little piece of content. You can send out a tweet in like 2 minutes. So social media is perfect for this, to run these experiments, to put yourself out there, to share something, and then just wait for the response. If something's not hitting home, then you know that you're not going to do that again.
Right.
What's working.
Yes. No, for sure. I think that's probably, I didn't keep track of time, but I think we covered. Do you have anything else there?
I'm looking at my notes. I'm wondering what else we could say. I just wrote here that one of the things about being multi-passionate is that we do struggle with, we battle with indecisiveness. So and the remedy there is decide on one thing at a time. I think I mentioned this as well before. I kind of divide my day into like little blocks of 2 hours for writing for my blog, for example, then another 2 hours of doing something else that has got nothing to do with my marketing, and then another 2 hours back to coaching work or whatever. Just divide time up. You don't have to give up entire days to do something.
Right.
You can find the time in the nooks and crannies, right? Like on your lunch hour or on your commute, you can just do something. Like I say, a quick little tweet or a Instagram post.
Stories. I think Instagram stories is such a wonderful place to experiment with that stuff, because if this is just my experience, right? But like with my feed, I do try to stick to business advice around writing, around freelancing, whatever. And then in the stories, these are little snippets into your personal life, like little things that don't take up an entire, they're not like a main focus. So you really get to experiment in those places when I go for a run or whatever, right? And I was looking at my notes while you were looking at yours, and I just want to mention this really quickly because it's something you do really well, and it was something that I find like super satisfying about being a content creator. We all have to write, we all have to be content or create video or whatever it is you do. We're all creating content. The beauty of being a multi-passionate is you can explore some of those interests and things through the content you're creating about another topic. So just to give people an example, so that's not so abstract, like I know you love the outdoors, you love hiking, you love the mountains, right? And when I got your newsletter, your Weekend Mocha newsletter, and it's about marketing, but you started with an analogy or a metaphor around orienteering, right? Being out in the woods and whatever, but you use that to explain marketing. And I think that's such a beautiful thing about being creatives, is that if you have this interest in architecture or history or whatever, use that to create parallels and tell stories for whatever else it is you do. You can triangulate your ideas that way. And it's a super great way to tap into all your different passions.
It makes you a better writer.
100%.
Far more interesting, right? Because people don't want to just read the point.
No.
They don't want to, you mustn't just share the point. You must illustrate the point, give an example, elaborate on it. It's like creating a painting, right? With your writing, like draw a picture. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that because it's a great way for me to explore my different passions while still giving people advice on something very specific. And I think you do the same thing. So didn't want to leave that out. I think we covered it all.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I think that's the primary difficulty, I think, with multi-passionates is this lack of focus. We struggle to just get things done because we're scattered. We feel scattered. We just don't know what to focus on. But you do have it in you to get disciplined, to create structure. And if you manage to do that, then it's so easy. If you can just commit to, like I say, divide your day, an hour of juggling, an hour of writing, an hour of yoga, whatever it is you want to do, you can do that. And if
Yep.
you don't have that many hours in your day, so if you're currently working and you're wondering what you're going to do in your side hustle, how you're going to find the time, you fit it into, like I say, those little nooks and crannies of the day, the time between, maybe your lunch hour or on your commutes, or maybe instead of watching the TV show, don't watch the TV show tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe create some content that you're going to share on social media
Yep.
for the next week, and you can do it in an hour. You can
Mhm.
create short posts in an hour and share it on social media.
Yeah. This is actually reminding me, this is one of my email welcome series, which is kind of how we got started with this whole video series, is around that, because it's like, I want it all. How do you have it all when you don't necessarily have time to have it all? And there are ways to do it. You just have to pick and choose, and maybe some things you do once a week instead of once a day, and figuring out where your values and the importance lies within those things, and then focusing on ways to, like you said, if you're in a day job, how do you get into a business where you're creating more freedom and more time to do some of those other things? And anyway, we could go on and on, as we do with everything.
And the secret of happiness here is, do not want it all today or
Yeah.
yesterday. The secret here to happiness and success and a long life is to just do the work, and the rewards will come.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely they will come. I think people just give up too soon because they want, I don't know what, the accolade,
Instant gratification. Yeah.
and it's not going to happen. It's not going to come. Not online, right? Maybe in some other field that they.
Yeah. Not in this space, as we know.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. No, wise words. All right. Well, I don't think we have a topic to promote for next week yet, because we're going to figure that out.
We welcome feedback, comments. If you'd like
Please.
us to speak about something, please let us know.
Yes, please. And all of your questions, we'll make sure to prioritize those when we get questions from people. And down below, you can grab our freebie, which is 15 proven ways to grow your email list. So if you want to start and grow your email list, that is packed full of resources. So you can grab that in the link below.
And please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes, please subscribe. We want to get that. We got to hit 100 subscribers so we can make a personalized URL. So yes, thank you in advance for doing that. And again, I'm Erin at candidlyerin.com.
And I'm Yolanda of Why Social Marketing. Thank you for watching us.
See you next Thursday.